Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the content that's on the For You channel at the moment. As we've said before, please do get in touch if there's anything you'd like to see more of or less of. Please do let us know. We'd love to provide you with exactly what you're looking for, and hopefully we can really help each other through these times. My videos often start with a bit of a thank you, and it's been a little while since I've done a new video, but I'd like to start again with some more thank yous. Again, thank you to the NHS who are doing a fantastic job. We really do appreciate it. Combined with the key workers that are keeping us going. I mean, there's been a few changes this week as to schools opening and some shops opening and that sort of stuff, so we're just sort of flexing a little bit as we are, but we really do appreciate everyone working and staying safe and doing everything like that, and then also the guys and girls that are at home, a bit like myself, furloughed, making the most of the stay-at-home team. And we really appreciate what you're doing, and when you do go outside and when you do interact with other people, keep staying safe. You know, it'll all be over soon, hopefully. I say through gritted teeth, but we don't really know. But yeah, we can only keep pushing in the same direction, so hopefully we'll come through it okay. Right, so this week I'm going to be talking about what it takes to win. So firstly, we'll just do a little update of my situation. So Francesca, myself, Bertie and Cece, how things have changed for us over the last couple of weeks, what's been happening. So yesterday, 2 days ago, sorry, Bertie went back to nursery, which is a massive change for us. It meant that we have had time in the day for Fran to do her calls, to do meetings, and have no stress about looking after Bertie. And then in the same way for me, I've been able to do as much training as I can, squeezing it into 2 days, and get the most out of it, so that when Bertie is at home, I can dedicate nearly all my time to looking after him, and Fran can sort of focus on her work, and so we can get through it okay. And I think that's a system that's sort of working for us quite well. I'm very fortunate to spend so much time with him, and I absolutely love it. And the situation with my job has lent this to be a perfect situation for me. So I'm doing the training that I need to while I'm on furlough, but it just means that I get so much family time, which I absolutely adore. And you know, it's been great. So I can complain, but I won't complain, and that's been really great. Some of the things that have been stressing us over the last few weeks. So my first video, I spoke about the Olympics being postponed and how that was potentially going to affect me going forward, whether I was going to carry on playing rugby, or whether I was going to try and transfer and retire and move in sort of the real world, as we call it. And that really has been a bit of a stress for us over the last couple of months. We've been able to manage it quite easily in terms of applying for jobs, speaking to contacts, and putting my name out there to business and stuff like that to see what we can come back with. But it's a really difficult situation. I'm sure lots of people have been in a position where they're applying for roles, and you know, you get the emails back saying that you haven't been successful for an interview, and the calls and everything like that. So it's unfortunate for my situation, but I've got a few more months which are left of my contract, which hopefully will give me a bit more time to secure a role going forward, just so that I know what I'm doing, whether it be rugby or outside of rugby and into the real world. But that's been a massive it is a stress, but it's just been something that's hanging over us. We've been looking at what jobs are coming about, what would suit me, what would work for us, what would work for Bertie, what would work for Fran. And so, as you can imagine, that is a little bit stressful. But the bonus and the almost negative at the moment is lots of companies are all paused. You know, they're dealing with Corona, they need to get through this, they need to sort themselves out, so they're not really looking to take a punt on someone a bit like myself, which I completely understand and I completely get, and unfortunately that is the circumstance that we're in. So as much as it is stressful, we're sort of the water off the duck's back in the sense for us, because there's nothing I can do about it. You know, when business rights itself, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 18 months, whatever it is, you know, hopefully I'll be in a position where I can can really add value somewhere, but at the moment that's the situation that we're in. So it's a bit of a weird one for us, but we'll just keep trucking on, keep doing what we need to do, and for me personally, keep enjoying my time at home. So onto the topic, what it takes to win. So talking about my experience within rugby sevens, what it takes to win on the field, and competing wise, training takes up a huge amount of time. And when you compare the amount of time that you're training to the amount of time that you're actually competing, and the competing is where you'll actually be winning medals and all that sort of stuff, I think I roughly worked it out, and this was really generous in terms of limited training minutes. I think it should probably be a lot higher, but I worked out that we're probably looking at 92% of our time at rugby is spent training, and that's on the field. So we do lots of other things, psychology and weights and prehab and all that sort of stuff, but actually on the field, so the direct comparison to competing, we have about 90 to 92% of the time training, and only 8%, and that's if you played every minute in the tournament, 8%, 10% of that time is spent competing. So you can imagine the proportion of the time that is coming down to winning is incredibly small. And so that really flips and puts an emphasis on the fact that when you're training, which is 90% of the time, you need to be doing what you want to achieve in the competing side, because if you're not doing that, then when you get to the competing side, it'll all be a shock. And what I mean by that within a rugby instance is we're very fortunate to have some of the best players in the world playing for England Sevens, and if they are training at 100% and they're giving 100% effort and they're doing everything they can in training, it means that a player like myself, I am improving because I'm playing against some of those best guys in the world, so that when I do come up against some of the guys that maybe aren't as good as they are on the World Series, in my competing time, I'll be better because I've already played and viewed situations and done that sort of stuff in training, so that in competing, it actually becomes slightly easier. That's sort of twofold with, threefold in fact. So you've got yourself, and I take pride in sort of trying to push myself and do the best that I can so that I can really stress my teammates and make them better. I've just touched on our teammates stressing me and making me better, making it, whether it be mistakes, missed tackles and practice and extras and stuff like that. And then thirdly, it's coaching. And so for me, that's in a business sense, I guess that's my manager. And the way that they create training practices that make training into game situations, so that when we come to competing, when we come to trying to go out and win, we're not surprised by things that have happened. We've seen situations, we can adapt and we can go forward. Which brings me on to my next point, the adaptation, which is sort of controlling the controllables. So you can do your world-class basics, tackling, passing, running, all that sort of stuff. But then when you're on the field, there's 7 guys on your team, 7 on the opposition, and then there's a referee. So depending on what happens in the game, you may get a call one way or another that goes in the right way. But for you have a plan, but things may not go to plan. You might get a yellow card straight off the bat, you might get a red card, you might go 5 scores up within the first 5 minutes, whatever it is, and you have your plan. But with that, you need to be flexible and you need to be able to go with the flow a little bit. You need to have an idea of where you want to get to, and that would be to win, and how you're going to do that, and in terms of the plan, the preparation, the tactics and stuff like that within a rugby environment. But you need to be able to adapt what happens as you go, which leads us beautifully on to what it looks like to win now, which who knows what it looks like to win for everybody. I wrote a few things down when I was thinking about this. What does it look like winning for you now? For me personally, I'm really enjoying my time. I'm enjoying it. But for some others, it might be surviving this period of lockdown. If you're by yourself and all that sort of stuff, it might be to relax. It might be to find a bit more me time, and there's plenty of other people out there that are actually really bettering themselves in this time. They're furloughed, they're putting a lot of energy into bettering themselves, which is fantastic. But it all depends what winning is for you in this time, and that's the important thing. So I'm going to talk about my experience of what winning is for me, and hopefully some of the experiences that I've been through will help you guys. So using my rugby environment and almost, there's a phrase, almost flexibly rigid, which I think is a complete, I don't know, it's a paradox almost in that same way, but I like to think of going with the flow as well. And so for me, Fran and Bertie, in that sense, what winning looks like for us, we often have a plan of what's going to happen in the day, especially around Fran's meetings and stuff like that. So it allows me to get my head around, okay, so Fran's got meetings from 9 till 10 o'clock or 11:30, whatever it is. I know that I'm going to be square on with Bertie from 8:30, 8:45 till 11:30 or whatever it is. You know, Fran's going to be doing her thing. So for me, I get my head around the fact that I won't be doing any training or anything like that. I'll be committing my time completely to Bertie, and then I know come 11:30 when Fran takes a break, whatever it is, she'll come out, and that'll give me a bit of time to relax, probably, because Bertie's been running me ragged, and also just enjoy her company as well. But just going with the flow a little bit more. So sometimes on days, Fran will have meetings that are cancelled or potentially meetings that are put in. And so for me, getting my head around what the plan is, but then also dealing with the sort of the uncontrollables. So some of the controllables being knowing that I'm going to look after Bertie and knowing when the start and the finish of the day is and when lunch is and all those sorts of things. But in our situation, the sort of the uncontrollables can come from, depending how Bertie is in terms of his mood, the weather, because it's been fantastic for the last, I don't know, 8 weeks. We've been able to be outside and Bertie absolutely loves it, which is amazing. And then as soon as that turns, it changes, because obviously we have to be inside and we have to find different things to do. And so that's something that I've had to get my head around now already. I think we had our first wet day yesterday. And so in terms of playing with him, reading him books and sort of entertaining him, it's completely different to being outside than it is inside, and lots of guys and girls with kids, you all know that, but for me it's a bit of a test spending all this time with him, and you know, knowing that if we're out in the garden we can spray him with the hose and he loves it, and you know, I'm talking about Bertie, not Cece this time. Yeah, so sorry, I digressed a little bit, but going back to what looks like winning for us in the Burgess household at the moment, it's about trying to enjoy our time, trying to get a little bit of a plan together, sort of at the start of the day, knowing who's going to be doing what, where we're going to be, but then understanding that things, you know, plans change, and we have to be a little bit flexible with that. And at times it can be a little bit stressful, but there's not a lot that we can do about it half the time. And so for Fran and I, it might be that we know that in the afternoon when Bertie goes for a nap or whatever it is, that can be a time where we just relax. And we just unwind, and it might be that we're in separate rooms. We might just, you know, just quite literally need to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever it is, and do that. So yeah, so I would say what it looks like to win now. You need to find out what it is for yourself. I mean, for us, it's for me, it's enjoyment. For Fran, it's slightly different. You know, without speaking too much on her behalf, without her being here, she's found this period very difficult in terms of managing work, managing Bertie, and I mean that in the nicest way, because she loves Bertie and wants to look after him all the time, but then she's obviously got work commitments, and that's something that she's fully committed to, and so it's trying to weigh up that guilt, of the maternal guilt of being here, and you know, hearing him walking around the house saying mummy, mummy, and not being able to sort of come out and say, oh, is everything okay, what are you doing, and trusting that I'm doing what I can do. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the video, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. If there's anything that you'd like to speak about more, or got any questions, please do just write them in the comments. Please do let us know. Really appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much, and stay safe. Thank you very much. Cheers.